Hello everyone, my name is Prevan and I'm here to talk you through our game. So I'm from Team Awesome and my group members are starting off with my group leader who's in Kululeko, followed by Tupoko, Lulama, and Tokazani. So this is our game, and as you can see, the first layer has a maze. Like starting off your research, it's like navigating through a maze. It can be a bit confusing at first, but as you work through the layers, it becomes clearer and clearer. So that's the reason why we chose maze for the first layer. Let's start off by going through the maze. Welcome party, he just welcomes you to the game. Moving on, we have Mr. Smarty Pants. Mr. Smarty Pants, he teaches you about epistemology, and ontology. So if you right click, we can see all the information that he's going to give you. We're not going to go through him in detail because we have limited time. So let's start navigating through the maze. Now you see 5 NPCs. Each one of these NPCs explains a philosophy, starting off with positivism, moving on to interpretism, pragmatism, critical realism, and postmodernism. So let's click on one of them. So we have Miss Always Positive. So she says, hi there. I'm here to explain what positivism philosophy is. Positivism is a philosophy that believes that factual and trustworthy knowledge is gained through structured data collection and quantifiable measures. From an ontological perspective, it believes that there is one truth that is ordered. From a epistemological perspective, positivism works to uncover measurable facts and laws that govern or can explain phenomena. So all of our NPCs have a similar narrative. Obviously, they'll be different based on their philosophy. For example, interpretism will be inductive in nature. But after the student goes through all of these NPCs, they will have a good understanding of what the first layer of the research onion, which is research philosophy. So once they're done here, they exit the maze and they follow the path. What you'll notice in our game is that the path going to each and every layer. So it's easy for our students to navigate. So what do we see here? Okay, ignore the pig. We see a board that explains what we're going to be looking at the next layer, which will be the 2 different approaches, being inductive and deductive. This gives you a quick overview of what inductive research is. Once a student reads this, they need to proceed into the house, or the classroom, should I say. Once they're here, they turn to their left and they'll see a researcher and a participant. And there's a quick overview of what's going on here. So here we have an interview taking place. So this is a typical strategy in inductive research. We have the interviewer, the researcher, who will be asking questions to the participant, and the participant will be willingly giving off information so that the researcher will be able to observe the behavior, gain opinions, gain insight, so they can address the research questions with information that they get from the participant. Now we move on and we have a deductive participant. What he's doing is at this PC is completing a survey. So now if you click on him, he tells you to move outside to learn more about deductive research. So let's exit the building. So here we have a quick brief about what inductive research is. Once a student reads this, and with the information that they've read in this previous layer, they'll know more about what inductive research is and what is deductive research. So from here, they're going to follow the path again to the next layer. So here's the next layer. It's class library, and this will be telling us more about strategies. So here we have the stratbot. So let's click on it. Beep bop beep. In typical robot language, he asks you to enter the research library to learn more about strategies, and once you're done, to exit and move to the underwater library. So here, because there's so many different strategies again, I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to give you a quick brief on some of them. So each one of these NPCs will explain a strategy, and in this area, we've also paired it up with boards. So as you can see, this board explains surveys and what surveys are and when they can be used, etc. Now we have in the corner here, we have a problem solver. He talks about action research. We move to the other layer. We have 2 more NPCs here. We have the anthropologist. So this is entography. So it shows you that entography is based on anthropology, and it speaks about culture and etc. At the end here, we have the experimentalist. So obviously he is talking about experiment research. We move up the stairs. We have this individual here, the interviewer, and we have the So here we have an interviewer and a board. The interviewer and the board will explain more about case studies. So moving on to our last NPC in this layer is the predictor and the board. These two individuals will explain more about grounded theory. So now I'm not going to take the stairs. I'm going to jump down. I'm going to exit the building as the bot recommended that I do so. I'm going to move to the next layer. I'm going to fly a bit for the sake of speed. And what do we have here? We have cross the bridge to learn more about time horizon, but we're not going to do that because we need to learn more about methods. So we're going to go into the underwater library. So here we have 3 NPCs to explain the 3 primary methods. So we have Mr. Mono. So Mr. Mono will speak about what's Mono method, essentially selecting one sort of method. We're either going to be using a deductive, inductive approach, qualitative, quantitative. You're going to choose one of the two. So deductive, quantitative, inductive, qualitative. Then we have 2-in-1. So 2-in-1 speaks about multi-method. So where you have multiple methods, but your focus is primarily on one approach or one philosophy. And then last, the mixer. So obviously this is mixed method, which will also be a combination, but you will essentially equally share. You will use both techniques, inductive, deductive, qualitative, quantitative equally. So now let's cross the bridge. Sorry if this comes across as a bit rushed, but running out of time. And now we have doctor time. So he says, climb the stairs. So I'm going to fly up for the sake of time. We're climbing the stairs to learn more about our time horizons. And it's doctor time again. So what does he say? So he says, yes, it's me again. Wondering how I'm here? I transcend time and space. So he's beyond the laws of physics. So what he'll explain will basically be one of the 2 time horizons, longitudinal and cross-sectional. So cross-sectional will explain to the student that it's basically data that's collected at a specific point of time, and longitudinal over a period of time. So a easy scenario would be a survey that's given today will reflect today's data, but a clinical trial will collect data over a long period of time, measuring the patient's results to see if they're improving or not improving based on medication or whatsoever. So let's proceed to the last bit. You're almost done. Fly to the top of the mountain. So let's fly. So fly a little more to find the ancient pyramid. So we have this gentleman here. Essentially, he just tells us to enter the pyramid, which we're going to do. Now we have our 3 boards. So the first one, it speaks about data collection. So it says that in order for us before we can start with data collection, the researcher would need to understand the research questions. They have to be defined. They need to know the type of data they want to collect, quantitative, quantitative, and they need to have a strategy such as whether they're going to carry out surveys, conduct interviews, but obviously that's going to be based on the previous layers. So for example, if the philosophy was positivism, they're going to be doing deductive research. It's going to collect quantitative data, and they're going to be carrying out surveys, for example. So once that's been done, they can move on to the actual collection. And as you can see, all the layers are coming together. Next thing they have, once that's been done, they can proceed to start collecting the data. So based on the strategy that they've defined earlier, they'll carry out those strategies and they'll collect the data. So like, as I mentioned a few moments ago, if it's positivist, he or she will go and send out surveys to gather quantitative data. And lastly, the analysis. So the analysis will be based obviously on the data. So if it's quantitative data, they may carry out statistic analysis. And those could be descriptive statistics, where they want to analyze a singular variable, or correlation, where they want to define relationships between 2 variables. Or if it's qualitative, then they will go and carry out, from the information that they get from the interviews, they'll code it and see if they can uncover any patterns based on the individual's behaviors and opinions, etc. So thank you, everyone. This is our game, The Wonder of Research. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for listening. Have a good day further, everyone.